Okay, at this time we're going to continue with the review of ownership, and we're going to cover some definitions and terms that you definitely need to know. The first one is title. Title is the way in which a property is held. This is evidence of transfer of ownership is contained in the county records, such whose name's on the title, husband and wife, however it's recorded. Okay? Deed. A deed is the instrument used to convey the title from one owner to another. The title company draws it up as a document. Grantor. Now this is important. Grantor is the person who's conveying the property. Now the reason you know it's the person conveying the property is because it's OR on the end. That means the owner or the giver of whatever instrument we're talking about. In this case, it's a grantor and grantee. The grantee is the person who's receiving the property from the grantor. So let's take a minute and examine the most common one, which is mortgagor and mortgagee. The mortgagor is actually the borrower, the new buyer. The mortgagee is the lending institution, such as the bank. Again, OR is the person giving it or the owner, and the mortgagee, or the E on the end, trustee, grantee, is the person receiving it. Again, trustor is the person giving the trust, the trustee is the recipient of the trust. General or full warranty deed, a deed that includes a warranty from the seller that you receive the entire bundle of rights that accompany ownership of a property. What does that mean? Well, general warranty deeds are the highest form of deed you can get. You have all rights to the property. It's your property. You can do with what you want with it. All right, quitclaim deed, which is the lowest level of a deed. A deed that does not convey the bundle of rights. All it does is grants any interest of ownership that the seller may have had in the property. It does not guarantee the seller has any ownership rights. So all you're basically doing is sometimes a husband will buy a property and his sole and separate property, and he'll take his name off of it after he buys it and put his and his wife's name back on it. That's all you're doing there. Okay, special warranty deed. A deed in which the grantor warrants the title against defects and clear title occurring only during the ownership of the property. These are pretty rare. You don't see this very often. So one of the things you need to do is connect with an escrow officer. Get to know your escrow officer so that you can get good advice about anything different or unusual coming up in a transaction. About when you read a preliminary title report, make sure it's clear. Have the title officer answer any questions you have. But you need to use at least one or two escrow officers that you typically use. Now, obviously, the client is the person who chooses that. However, it's always good to have a working relationship for a real estate agent with an escrow officer and a title officer if you happen to know one. Deed of trust. A deed used in the case of a mortgage. This is such as Nevada. The lender receives a deed of trust. While this does not give them the rights to the property, it does give them the right to foreclose on a property if the homeowner defaults on payments. So a trustee holds the deed to the property. And then once the mortgage is paid off, they do a deed of reconveyance, which we'll discuss. And the deed of trust is changed, or the trust is changed, the deed is changed to reflect that the mortgage company no longer has any further rights to foreclose on the property. Okay? Deed of reconveyance, again, a deed returned by lenders to the homeowner when the mortgage is paid off, which returns the rights given in the deed of trust back to the homeowner. Again, it takes off the right of the mortgage company to foreclose, because that's the only right they basically had to the company, or to the house, the property. But the homeowner still has the ability to sell or convey the property, whatever they want to do. But if they don't make their payments, under regular deed of trust, the mortgage company has the right to foreclose. In this case, once a deed of reconveyance is issued, you've paid off your mortgage, so they no longer have that right. Okay, consideration. Both parties are given something to the transaction. One person is giving something in return for something else. Basically what this means usually is money for the property, right? So something in consideration. Legal description. This is the way in which a property is described by law, not the commonly known address. Not 123 Banana Street. This is meets, bounds, range, township, section, so on and so forth. All depends on the type of property it is. Void. A contract that was never valid to begin with. Something within it renders it illegal or unlawful. Not to be confused with voidable. Voidable is a contract that could be rendered invalid depending on the circumstances, such as if a minor the person under 18 enters into a contract, and